Good morning, everybody. Chester ARP Church Devotional Podcast. I'm Clint Davis, your host. Thanks for joining us. We'll get started in just a second. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us this morning. As we get together, we read the book of Ruth, chapter 1. It took me a moment to figure out where I was. Ruth chapter 1, beginning in verse 6, down through, I think I'm going to go through verse 18. Ruth 1, 6 through 18. Ruth's loyalty to Naomi. This is what the Word of God says. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that's Naomi with her two daughters-in-law, Orpah and Ruth, to return from the country of Moab, for she had heard at the fields of Moab that the Lord had visited his people and given them food. So she set out from the place where she was with her two daughters-in-law, and they went on the way to return to the land of Judah. But Naomi said to her daughter-in-laws, Go, return each of you to your mother's house. May the Lord deal kindly with you as you have dealt with me. The Lord grant that you may find rest, each of you, in the house of your husband. Then she kissed, and they lifted up their voices and wept. And they said to her, No, we will return with you to your people. But Naomi said, Turn back, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Have I yet sons in my womb, that they may become your husbands? Turn back, my daughters. Go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. And if I should say I have hope, even if I should have a husband this night, and should bear sons, would you therefore wait till they were grown? Would you therefore refrain from marrying? No, my daughters, for it is exceedingly bitter for me, for your sake, that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me. Then they lifted up their voices and wept again, and Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. And she said, See, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Run after your sister-in-law. But Ruth said, Urge me not to leave you, or to return from following you, for where you go I will go, and where you lodge I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you die I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord do so to me, and also more, if anything but death parts me from you. And when Naomi saw that she was determined to go with her, she said no more. This is a continuation of, obviously, the story of Naomi. Naomi hears while she's in the fields of Moab, she hears that the Lord had visited his people and brought food to them. There was a great famine in the land. They left, she and her husband and their two sons left the land of Bethlehem and went into the land of Moab. We saw that yesterday. But she hears that the Lord has brought food back to his people. He's revisited his people, a place of provision in Bethlehem. So she sets out from the place where she was in Moab to return to Judah. And when she returns to Judah, she starts her journey back, and her two daughter-in-laws, Orpah and Ruth, go with her. But Naomi, being a kind and generous woman, says to her two daughter-in-laws, Look, don't go back with me. Stay here with your families. Go back to your families. Go back to your people. Go back to your household gods. Go back to all of those things that you had before you met me. Basically, Naomi's saying, I'm bitter, and bitterness has happened to me, and therefore I don't want you to be part of this bitterness. I don't want to shed this bitterness on you, so I want you to go back to your family's home. I want you to go back to your gods. I want you to go back to your way of life and forget about me. And then Orpah decides to do that. At first, they both say, we're not going to do that. We're going to stay with you. And Naomi says, listen, if I had sons even now that were born and then those sons grew up, if I had got married today, I had sons that grew up, you're not going to wait for those sons to be grown in order to marry them. That was the practice of the day. The practice of the day was if a man died and he had a living brother, his brother would take the man's family into his life and marry his wife, and then they would be a family and take in the children and participate and care for them and all those different things. And Naomi says, I don't have other sons to marry you. And even if I had them now, they wouldn't be grown in any time to marry you, and you're not going to wait that long. And so Orpah says, as hard as it is, I'm going to go back home. But Ruth, however, decides, she says in these famous words, entreat me not to leave you or to return from following you, for where you go I will go, and where you lodge I will lodge. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. It's interesting to think about why Ruth made this decision. Ruth made this decision to go with Naomi, not because she was concerned about Naomi having sons for her, not because she was overly concerned. I mean, certainly she had a love for Naomi, but what we find here is that her love for Naomi actually comes from her love of God, the God of the Bible. In verse 16, Naomi says, your sister-in-law is going back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law. And Ruth says, no, I'm not going to leave you. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Where you go, I will go. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Ruth is giving a statement of faith. She has come to know the God of the Old Testament people, the one who provides for his people. She's returning to the land to be a part of the people of the God that she has decided that she is going to serve. In other words, what Ruth is a story of a surprising conversion. She's converted to faith. Orpah has not. But the language of go back to your household gods, go back to your people, go back to your gods, and Ruth says, no, I'm going with you because my faith, my allegiance, my people are now found with you and your people because your God is my God and I worship him. It's a beautiful point of Ruth where she has connected herself to the God of the Bible, and she recognizes in connecting herself to the God of the Bible, she connects to the people. And as she connects to the people of God, she's connected to Naomi, and that love bond is so strong because ultimately it's rooted in the God of the Bible. And so we see a conversion here with Ruth, and she wants to go home and be with Naomi because her home is no longer Moab. Her home is with Naomi and the people of God in Judah, enjoying the provision and the blessing of the Lord. Wonderful story that will come full circle at the end, but that's where we'll end today. God can do incredible things. He makes people surprising converts all the time, and it's all about faith in him. You guys have a great day. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow.